Now we're going to enter into some territory that most people really don't recognize. They don't think about very much. They might not even know exists. And we're still talking about a man again, but now we're going to be talking about masculine qualities, right? Where it isn't a problem with too little masculinity. It's a problem with too much masculinity that's twisted, right? It isn't normal masculinity. It's a masculine identity that goes to the hard side, where there's less identification with the feminine side and more with the masculine side. And so, we're going to, once again, we're going to have 3 spots going that way on the scale, and these are the butches. In the U.S., the term femme and butch is usually associated with lesbians, right? Because it's butch lesbians and whatnot. But I've sort of adopted the terms. I'm not using them derogatorily. They're just for labeling purposes. The butches, these are really bullies. When you want to think about who is the homosexual man who is going to the masculine side, what is he like? He's a bully. He's someone who usually hides his homosexuality, doesn't want people to know. And these are, once again, broad generalizations based on my observations, but this is generally the case. And he is the most often, if you hear of a gay man being beaten up, it's this guy, usually, that's doing it. He doesn't like homosexuality in himself. He doesn't like effeminacy. He's really hostile to effeminacy. And when he sees another man acting girlish, he beats him up as a way, really, to deal with his own. He's a guy with genuine homophobia. Homophobia, which is basically fear of his own homosexual inclinations. Right? It doesn't mean that they could ever be right inclinations, but he's a guy that really sort of fits that original psychiatric term. Then you get into the category where you're getting to extremes again. You know, just as transvestitism and transsexuality are really getting to extremes, very far from the norm, now you're getting on the masculine side, and I call these, the first category, super machos. Super macho. These are men who have very little restraint. They have very little sense of mercy, nurturing aspect to them. These are men, these were the Nazis. The Nazis were super macho. The ones that, the Sturmabteilung, the stormtroopers, the ones that helped Hitler come to power at the beginning, the ones that would go and smash windows and, the jackbooted thugs type. You also see them in prisons. The super machos are very often brutish, animalistic men that want to hurt other people. There's no mercy in them, and that they are often they hate effeminacy. Right? That's one of the things about the early Nazis, about the movement they came out of. It was called the Gemeinschaft der Eigenen, the community of the elite. They actually had a philosophy. They taught that all the nation states of the world have come from people like themselves. These are the warrior cults. You're talking about in Africa here, when sodomy, when pederasty was happening as part of the cultures of Africa, this is what you're talking about, right? This is super macho. It's men having sex with boys and other men, usually in some sort of aggressive way. And motorcycle gangs, prisons, military units, you find them a lot in there. And then lastly, you have what I call the monsters. This is a category. Fortunately, there's very few people like this. These are men who don't have anything involved in. They are so far from normalcy that they're killers. They're serial killers, mass murderers. They're sociopaths, right? There's no mercy at all. There's no nurturing. There's no caring about anybody else. This is the kind of person that it takes to run a gas chamber, right? Or to do a mass murder, like the Rwandan stuff, probably involve these guys. And sometimes when you get to the furthest extreme, sometimes there's not very much in regards to sexuality about it. It's just animal behavior. There's such a deep level of confusion and such a lack of balance that they really are a very unusual category of people.